So what if I told you that the reason you can't get your right arm in front of you in the downswing has more to do with your hips than it does with your right arm? So this is why so many golfers out there cannot get their right arm out in front. And once you clear up your hip movement, and one other little thing for your backswing, it becomes automatic to get that right arm in front for that really good, nice compressed golf shots. So let's get straight into it. What is it with the hips that causes players to not get their right arm in front? And it's how most golfers view hip rotation in the downswing. So a lot of golfers try to rotate and clear their hips with their right side. So pushing that right side forward to spin and open them up. It leads a lot of players to think that they're clearing and rotating their hips too fast and getting stuck. In essence, it does get you stuck, because if that right side starts to move forward and that's your method of clearing your hips, look at my right arm. My right arm is not moving at all, but my right hip is. But you can see it how now it's getting behind my body. So no matter how hard I try to get that right arm moving in at the same time, I'm not going to get it in front. It is always going to be stuck. It's always going to be behind the seam line of my shirt. So that's where, if we try to rotate that right side first, we're in no man's land when it comes to a good, consistent golf swing. Because as we know, when that right arm gets stuck behind the body, we have to prioritize firing it back out. That's where a lot of players will suffer with some shank shots. They'll suffer with the hand path massively flying out towards the right, maybe some big blocks and big hook shots. Absolutely disastrous. But I'm going to tell you exactly how to get these hips moving properly and keep this right side at bay to automatically get the right arm in front. But if you don't do this with the backswing, you're still not going to have much luck with this. So that is where, with a lot of players with their backswing, this is also why they can't get their right arm in front in the downswing, because they will be in that backswing and pulling their arms around them. And when they pull their arms around them, they really get this elbow pointing behind and immediately getting behind the seam line of the shirt, because we want the right arm to be in front of the seam line in the golf swing to have it in front. So if it starts and pulls back like so, gets behind the seam line. Now, even if we had great hip movement, which we'll talk about, you're still going to have the right arm stuck. It's going to be incredibly difficult to go from back here to then in front. That's too much movement to do in a short space of time. So not only do we need good hip movement, we need good right arm movement. If we can get both of those, good backswing movement, good hip movement, you're going to be getting that right arm in front of you every time without trying. So how do we do it? Okay, we're going to get into a good 2 drills to do for this, which will be really good at the end of the video here. But let's start off with the backswing portion. So we'll talk about the arm and then we'll get into the hip movement. Okay, so with the right arm, we want instead the right arm to fold up. Like we said, we want the arm to stay in front of the seam line of your shirt for that entirety of the swing. So we need the right arm to fold with the elbow pointing down. We see all the best players in the world have this nice folding movement, even if they do have slight internal maybe movement, or some guys of their right shoulder with the elbow maybe slightly pointing behind, they'll still be having a folding movement going up. So it's essential to fold it up. It makes golf way easier. So we want that sensation. Is a really good way to view this is like you're in the gym lifting weights doing bicep curls. So when you're doing a bicep curl, of course, we're having the forearm go all the way to the bicep for a full repetition. But we don't want to do a full repetition of the golf swing for bicep curl. We want to do half a repetition. So where that forearm gets to about 90 degrees to the ground. If we can do a half bicep curl whilst turning the body, and maybe a slight arm lift as well for some players, if they want to get a little bit of separation, you can keep it tight if you want to as well, like Hogan. If you want a little bit of lift, you can do that. So if we have half a bicep curl with turn, now we've got perfect right arm movement. So half a bicep curl and a turn. We're going to get into a good drill to do for this as well to give you the sensation. But here we go, half a bicep curl and a turn of the body. And then that's going to be nicely keeping it in front in the downswing and not pulling behind like a lawnmower. Okay, now the juicy bit here, that is the hip movement. So this is the make or break in really when it comes to your right arm. So like we said, we don't want it moving forward with the hips. We want the right hip to stay back. We want that right hip in the backswing to move deeper, like someone's grabbing your right trouser pocket and gradually moving it back there. Because you can imagine, okay, we talk a lot about the seam line. So that seam line in the middle here of your side. If we can get that seam line to move more back, then that right arm has got more of a chance to get in front in the downswing. If we don't move that seam line back by not moving that right hip back at all, even if we've got good hip rotation, we're still most likely going to have that right arm get stuck behind us. So I want this right pocket for players to go nicely back, like someone's gradually pulling their right trouser pocket back. And now you've got room, you've got space to get the right arm in front. And then from there, we want to get the left hip moving back. So this is a huge key here. When rotating and clearing your hips, it's with the left side, not the right side. Because if you're moving your left side and clearing with the left, it's impossible to spin out with your hips. You will only spin out and rotate your hips too fast if it's with the right side. If you're doing it with the left side, it naturally gets you flexing down. So this is what we call hip flexion. So when the left hip goes back, after you've made that right hip go back enough, you're going to see how the hips will naturally push back in that squatting move, and it will lower the upper body down. Now look what happens naturally to the right arm. See how the right arm naturally falls in front, where of course if I do the right side first, right arm naturally falls behind, left hip first, falls in front. I'm not trying to do that with the right arm, it just goes forward. That's what we want to do. So we want to give ourselves room, get that seam line back, by someone pulling that right trouser pocket, nice full turn, gives us space, and then left side back. Keep pushing that left side back all the way through. That right arm's going to stay nicely in front of you all the way through, without the risk of swinging over the top either, which is great. So, okay, here we go. Nice half bicep curl, going up to the top. Right side, like someone's grabbing that right trouser pocket back, and then left hip back all the way down into that downswing. Okay guys, so we're going to talk about two drills here, one for the hips and one for the right arm. So let's talk about the hips first. So what we're going to do, talk about a drill I've only talked about a couple times on the channel, but it's very, very useful for this, and that is with a swing plate here. So there's a link in the description to get a discount off one of these. So what we do, we place this so away from the target, and you can see I'm getting it just at an angle where it's just about level with my knees, but it is only 4 fingers of a distance in front of my right knee. Now, if I in the downswing get that right hip to go overly forward, my knee is going to hit this stick. So it gives us really good feedback, because we're all going to be different on the rates that we can get that left hip back, but we can all prevent that right hip from overly going forward. So the good thing about this as well is because we've got that 4 fingers of a distance with that stick in front of us, if I then in the backswing try to create more of a distance between my knee and this stick, I'm getting my right side to move back. And I love the sensation, like I talked about, of someone grabbing that right trouser pocket and pulling it back, getting that seam line and that right hip deeper to give us room for the right arm to naturally fall in front. So if I then, okay, get that sensation in the backswing and don't hit this with my right knee in the downswing, I can guarantee that hip stay back. I can guarantee that right arm's going to get more in front of me. So if I want a feel of like someone's getting that left pocket back, sure, you can do that, but you can just focus on that right knee and that will suffice really, really nicely. So let's do one here. Okay, really good. So it's like for players who, again, really fire up, this is going to help you have a natural good banking movement of that trail foot without even trying. It's really, really good drill. Now, even for myself, who in my golf swing, I don't struggle with that hip going forward, this I find really quite challenging and quite tough, mentally challenging. So that's where, be aware of that. Be aware that this might be something you'll have to do half swing to start off with, but it is a really good one to train the sensation. If you want to make a change, you've got to get a feel and a sensation from there and have something nice like this to get you doing the movement pattern that you want with feedbacks. Let's do one more. That felt lovely. That felt really good. Great, great drill in many, many ways. Make sure it's 4 fingers. Don't have it too far forward. Otherwise, it's going to interfere with your swing path. So 4 fingers is plenty. Now, a good little drill to do for the right arm. Now, this is something I've talked about quite a lot on the channel recently because it's a really good drill. It trains good movement for backswing and downswing of the right arm and stretches out your shoulder as well. So we know in the backswing with the right arm, half a bicep curl is what we want. Don't want a full one. That'll give you a lack of width. We don't want to start a lawnmower. We want half a bicep curl. Okay, so what we want to do is a drill called the nunchuck drill, because this really helps golfers as well who have poor range of motion of their shoulders to really still have good let's say, training good external rotation. Like I said, you don't necessarily need to have tons of external rotation of the trail shoulder to get the right arm in front. I mean, look at me. This is a test you can all do to see your range of motion of your trail shoulder. 90 degrees here to the ground, and then get it going back as far as you can. I can't even get to 90 here. So that is where I have a limited amount of trail shoulder rotation. I really struggle to get it going external, but I can get the right arm in front of me. So that's because I move the body nicely. So this will help really with getting more flexible with it, which will do you good. But if I get the club, flip it over to my right hand side like so, grip it here, and now you can see I'm already in a good position. So this just trains the feeling of that right elbow pointing down, that backswing with a good turn. You can practice getting your right hip back as well. And there we go. Now we can turn down, get the left hip going back, have it a little pull through as well for a bit of exaggeration. There we go. Brilliant. So you can imagine if you did a ton of those, let's say before shots, let's do 3 of them. And then go and hit 3 balls, for example, just as a rough type of routine. 4 fingers difference in front. There we go. Now let's hit a shot. I was actually too close to my hand. I had it at too much of an angle. There we go. Still 4 fingers. Good. Let's hit one here. And just don't hit it with your knee. You'll be doing everything you can to get that right arm in front. The good thing why I like this drill as well, because you can take it away and then you feel like it is still there. If you use your imagination, you can still think, okay, I'm on the golf course. I can imagine that this is in front of my knees and still that exact same sensation and feel. And there we go. Gets that right arm nice in front via good body movement. If your body ain't moving nicely, you're most likely not going to have good right arm movement. It's something a lot of people don't talk about either. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction, just like this. Hit the subscribe button and hit that bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.